Nano Machine. Bai, Ang Hongweolya. Chapter 220. Anonymous. Part 1. Munyu still had his half-open mouth and drooling with a strange smile on his face. Hubong and Baki couldn't find much difference, but families who had spent a long time easily found out the difference. This slight difference was enough to make 8th Elder Munyun burst in tears. My head hurts, it hurts, you. Munyun hugged Munyu hard and cried. Munyun, after losing his child in an incident, had deep love toward his grandchildren, who were the last of his family members. Munku also shed tears with joy with her reddened eyes. Master's power is limitless. Hubong then turned to Yoan with an astonished look. Baki shared the same feeling. He knew that Yoan was knowledgeable in poison and medications as he once knew Baki was poisoned, but Baki didn't think it was this much. He's like a god himself. Baki was so astounded that he even thought maybe Chun Yoan was a real person who could communicate with God. And the shock and excitement from Yoan's miracle lasted quite a long time. It was after 2 hours when Yoan and his group left the mansion of the Demon Dragon clan. Their number was 4 when they went in, but now they were 5, with Munku's twin brother Munyu added to the group. In Yoan's hand, he held the orange tag for them to meet the godly doctor. If you can heal my grandson, then I don't need this tag. You can keep it to yourself and use it for your own benefit. Munyun decided to have Munyu stay at the mansion of the Ghost Illusion clan for a while. Munyun and Huani were close friends and Munyu required regular treatment from Yoan, so it was decided. Please take care of my grandchildren. Yoan and his members then took Munyu back to the mansion of the Ghost Illusion clan. It was near dinner time. The sun had already gone down as it was late winter. When they returned, someone was waiting with Huani. Huh? It was a stubborn-looking middle-aged woman, a woman with face of Een Moha before she went through body reconstruction. She was the agent of the Ghost Illusion clan who was faking to be Een Moha while she was gone. Huani found Yoan and his members and got down, and smiled when he found Munku without her mask. My nephew finally got out of the mask. You are too pretty to hide your face. Just look at you, hoo-hoo. Ugh, Uncle Huan. Munku blushed at Huani's teasing telepathic message. She had spent 4 years as a male, so she was embarrassed when someone else mentioned her as a girl. Huani grinned from the reaction and walked up to Yoan. Welcome, Crown Prince. Did everything go well? Huani asked and Yoan nodded. Huani figured things wouldn't go bad as they had Munku with them, so he wasn't surprised. Congratulations. The Demon Dragon clan will be a great help to you. I was just lucky with Munku being with us. How did things go on your end? Yoan then asked Huani about his mission. Huani then knelt down and apologized. I apologize, my prince. Elder Sama and I went over to the elusive Dream clan, but we couldn't see Elder Mong. What? There were guests there already. Yoan frowned and asked just in case. Was it the Sword or Lust clan? Oh? How did you know? Huani asked back with a surprised look. As expected, the Sword and Lust clan leaders had visited the mansion of the elusive Ghost clan already. Huani and Sama-i offered to wait to meet Mong-o, but they soon were asked to leave without getting a chance to meet him. I see. Just like Yoan was acting to take neutral elders on his side, the other 4 clans were doing the same. This was obvious. If Elder Mong had refused to see Sama-i and Huani, then it meant he already decided to side with the 4 clans. It's not good news. I apologize, my prince. No, they were just quicker. And why is she here? Oh. Yoan then asked about the agent with Een Moha's mask. Huani answered, I was going to tell you about it now. It hasn't been long since she came. Elder Een. Huh? Een Moha became curious as Huani called to her. She was also curious about why her copy that should be acting as Een Moha was at the Ghost Illusion clan's mansion. Greetings, Crown Prince and Elder Een. I am number 24. The agent, who named herself as number 24, bowed. Yoan nodded and the agent explained why she came here. Elder Een. There's been an intruder in your mansion. Intruder? Is it from the Sword clan again? No. Unlike Een Moha's expectation, the intruder wasn't from the Sword clan. Number 24 then explained what happened about an hour ago. As a trained agent, number 24 knew all Een Moha's behavior, so she was pretending to be reading a book at the mansion's office. I was reading a book at the office when I heard a telepathic message. Een Moha. Number 24 became surprised and came out of the office, but there was no one to be seen. Number 24 tried to look around when she heard another message. Act normally. Don't try to find me. Number 24 then realized this mysterious man was very powerful. Number 24 then returned to her seat and pretended to continue reading the book, and she heard another message. Situation changed. We will shorten the date to 10 days earlier. That was it. There were no more messages that came after the sudden notice. Number 24 then came out after waiting for 10 minutes and searched for a trace of the man, but nothing was found. It wasn't something I could deal with alone, so I came here to let you know. And when she finished, Yoan looked at Ian Moha with a serious look. Ian Moha also nodded slowly at Yoan. Both of them realized who was the man who sent the message. Anonymous. She was certain that the man was anonymous. It was the mysterious warrior that taught Ian Moha and the other two elders of the first formation of the 24 demon sword. Ian Moha then frowned at what she had heard. It was only 5 days ago when she explained Anonymous to Yoan. She said she had 2 weeks to meet Anonymous. It's today. Speaking about 10 days, then the day was today. Ian Moha became confused as Anonymous never changed the date prior to this. I am not sure why he changed the date. She spoke and Yoan smiled. Maybe something happened to him. Good. Yoan wanted so badly to meet the Anonymous who knew the 24 demon sword and the sword force of the sky demon. Although it was unexpected that the day would come this soon. Chapter 221. Anonymous. Part 2. At midnight, toward the Five Wise Peak, southwestern side of the demonic cult's castle. This peak was the third highest peak in all peaks of the mountain of 10,000. There was one who was shooting through the peaks in a very quick manner. In just 20 minutes, the man got up to the high peak. As he stepped on the peak, the moonlight shined upon many peaks down. It was a vast and majestic sight. Phew. Cold air brought steam over the breaths. The one who just got up on the peak was Ian Moha. She had covered her face with her old skin mask to hide that she had gone through body reconstruction. Elder Ian. She then heard a voice. It was the leader of the Sword Clan, King Bonki, with a short beard and aggressive eyes. He was sitting down on a rock, but got up and walked over to Ian Moha. I thought 3 of us would gather again, but there are only 2 of us now. Bah! Ian Moha scoffed at King Bonki. King Bonki knew that Ian Moha hated the Blade or Wise clan because of their history, so he didn't say much. But since you are here, you have made an achievement in your formation. I don't exchange words with scumbags that betrayed him. Huh. Same old Ian Moha. King Bonki then shook his head. Ian Moha never tried to talk with him or Mujinwan. Every time they gathered at this place, she always glared with a disgusted look. Nothing will change no matter what you do. From today, our Sword Clan will be the true successor to the Demon Sword. The Sword Clan, although cast out, wanted to become the true successor of the Demon Sword. And with Mujinwan, the strongest warrior besides the Lord and Great Guardian, gone, King Bonki believed victory was his. And there was one thing he knew when he met Anonymous last time. If I'm right, he is probably, it's almost time. With the moon coming up in the sky, it was almost time. The man always came on right time, so it was about time he arrive. It was then. Someone appeared at the peak. The man quickly came up to them with black clothes and a mask. It was Anonymous. You are on time. It was the same voice. From his reaction, it was sure that he wasn't surprised to find only 2 of them here without Mujinwan. It was natural for such a man to know about Mujinwan's death. Who is this man, really? Ian Moha looked at Anonymous. She had not reached the end stage of superior master level, but she still couldn't sense how powerful this Anonymous was. This only seemed possible if the man was stronger than the end stage of the superior master level. I thank you for coming here, even when I changed the date. Then let's get to the point. Who among you will? That's when King Bonki got down on his knee. What is this? Anonymous became confused at King Bonki, who was kneeling down on his knee. Ian Moha also became confused. What is he doing? King Bonki then bowed politely and shouted, Second Elder, and the leader of Sword Clan, greets the Great High Lord. What? Ian Moha's eyes grew large and turned to Anonymous. She figured Anonymous was related to the cult in some way, but she had never thought that the man was Great High Lord, the one who had passed the 6th test of the Academy 70 years ago. That sword skill, it must be him. King Bonki remembered the powerful sword formation that Anonymous showed. As soon as they saw it, King Bonki and Mujinwan were shocked. 2 of them had fought with Chun Yuzhong in many battles, so they knew the sword art of the Sky Demon, and the sword formation used by Anonymous was very similar to it. They at first were confused if the Lord was testing them, but they quickly concluded that it was not possible as the current Lord was acting against the 6 clans. King Bonki thought for a long time after he returned to his home and came to a conclusion. Who else other than the Lord knows about the sword art of the Sky Demon? Then, his conclusion was Chun Inji, the Great High Lord. He had gone missing about 20 years ago, so it seemed that was the only logical answer. If this man can enter the cult that easily, and also know the secret of our clans, then it must be Great High Lord. King Banki was certain that Anonymous was the former lord and paid respects accordingly. There was the possibility that he could be wrong, but if he was right, he needed to show proper respect. Anonymous then looked down at King Banki for a while and spoke. King Banki, you have made a miss? That's when Anonymous suddenly stopped and glared at Een Moha and King Banki and asked, who is it? The voice turned aggressive. What are you talking about? You have not kept the promise. Huh? And no. I don't understand, humph. Anonymous then created sword chi over his finger and threw it toward the back. What are you, huh? King Banki became shocked and looked up. From the opposite side, through grass that was cut off, someone came out from it. King Banki was shocked. He couldn't understand why he was seeing this person here. Crown. Prince. It was Chun Yoan. Chapter 222. Anonymous. Part 3. About an hour ago, there was someone who arrived at 5 Wise Peak. It was Chun Yoan. After finding out that the day had changed to today, Yoan talked with Een Moha and decided to stay at 5 Wise Peak first. I will go with you. Huani said he'd go together as it was dangerous, but Yoan knew that Anonymous was stronger than the 3 elders, so he refused. If Anonymous was that strong, then he might find out that there were people hiding and not reveal himself. Yoan then found a good place to hide. There was a dense bush area at the peak, and he hid within it to wait for Anonymous to appear. Second elder. The first one that got to the peak was King Banki. He too was a superior master-level warrior, but he was weaker than Yoan, so he couldn't find Yoan. Even after a long time, King Banki did not sense Yoan in his hiding. Soon, Een Moha also got to the peak, and finally, the man that Yoan was waiting for had revealed himself. It was the black-clothed man. Yoan became astonished. He knew that this man was powerful, but he was astonished by the way Anonymous had hidden his powers. It proved that the man was either equal or stronger than Yoan in power. He became curious. I should take a look. Yoan then thought Anonymous would show the first formaton of the sword force of the Sky Demon to test the 2 elders, so he thought he would watch that first. That's when something unexpected happened. Anonymous suddenly turned and threw sword chi in his direction. He found me. Yoan then took steps to dodge the attack. But with his location revealed, there was no way to hide. Crown Prince. King Banki frowned when Yoan appeared. It was a secret between the 3 elders. If Chun Yoan was here, then the culprit was only one. King Banki turned to Een Moha with a glare. Elder Een. It's you. Een Moha already showed to everyone that she sided with Yoan. She was the only possible reason for Chun Yoan coming here. Bah. Yes, it's me. Why did you bring Crown Prince here? Are you out of your mind? King Banki became furious and shouted. He had waited this moment when he was going to succeed the 24 demon sword skill of the sword demon, and it was now gone. Ha, so you were that desperate? Een Moha pulled out her sword. She wished to find the true sword family in this place, so she didn't hesitate to fight. Ugh. You are out of control. King Banki wanted to cut her down right now, but this wasn't the time. King Banki knelt on both knees and spoke to Anonymous. Great High Lord. This isn't my doing. I have kept your promise. Please allow me to succeed the sword demons. But his desperate begging did not work on Anonymous. It's too late. You people do not have the right to succeed the 24 demon sword. And no. Why wait? King Banki shouted desperately, but Anonymous took steps to get out of the place. Gee, Great High Lord. King Banki tried to follow after Anonymous, but Een Moha got in his way. Who told you to go? You. King Banki was hot-tempered, but he was trying to hold back so Anonymous could teach him. But with that chance disappearing, his aggressive nature exploded out at once. He pulled out his sword and struck down on Een Moha. Ha! Een Moha then easily used her true demon sword to defend it. King Banki became shocked, as he thought he was stronger than her. What? Since when was she this strong? He thought that no one other than the Mujin one or Mara Kim was stronger than him. But he was shocked each time he felt the energy coming from Een Moha's sword. He even thought he might lose if he didn't do his best. Damn it. And Anonymous, who was running down the peak, was already at the middle of the mountain. His stepping skill was so quick that he ran like the wind. It's a shame. He was ashamed that he couldn't teach the 24 demon sword. The reason he pulled the date early was to teach the 24 demon sword, but it now had failed. Well, there are others who learned it so it wouldn't matter. He hoped ones that had connection with the sword demon from the past would learn it, but he was given no choice. I will have him lose my tail and return. He saw Chun Yoan was following him when he first left the peak. He knew he could lose him, so Anonymous pulled up his internal energy to speed up. It was then. Aewa. He heard screaming coming into his ears and looked up. That's when Chun Yoan dropped from the air and struck down with the white dragon blade. What? Anonymous quickly pulled out his sword and blocked the white dragon blade. As two swords struck against each other, the weight and power pushed Anonymous' foot into the ground. It was as if he was pushed down by 1,000 tons. No. Anonymous, who only used half of his energy, thought he had to use more and pulled up 90% of his energy. He was then able to push up against Yoan's white dragon blade. Ugh. Yoan was thrown away into the wood and struck on it. The wood was broken down from the energy. Yoan panted with his pale face. It seemed he had pulled up too much of his energy. I shouldn't do this anymore. Yoan shook his head. Initiating self-healing mode on the destroyed muscle structure and fractured bones. Nano's voice came through his head and the pain quickly eased. Anonymous then pulled out his fist from the ground and spoke with dumbfounded look. Did you jump out from above? Yoan did not answer, as it was correct. Yoan had used his stepping skill, but Anonymous was too quick so he couldn't catch up to him. So Yoan ordered Nano to activate night vision mode and use augmented reality to calculate the destination and angle on how he needed to jump, and jumped off the peak. I almost died. Yoan thought he might die for the first time in his life. But thanks to his gamble, he was able to catch up to Anonymous at once. How did he guess where I was running to and jump down on me from that height? Anonymous looked at Yoan with disbelief. The height was enough that would scare any warriors from jumping off. It was too high and that could have killed him instantly. He's like a monster. But nothing changes. Anonymous thought he could use stepping skill to run away, but his legs began to tremble. No. He had blocked the power of blade striking down on him, and it seemed he couldn't defend well against it. He was able to defend against having his bones from breaking, but his muscles seemed to have ripped. Phew. But Yoan was quickly healed by Nano. He got up and looked at Anonymous and spoke. It's time to find out who you are now. Chapter 223. Anonymous. Part 4. You risked your life just for that? Very interesting. Anonymous aimed his sword at Yoan. But it doesn't change anything. If Anonymous couldn't run, then there was only one way. It was to overpower Yoan as fast as possible. If Yoan had taken such damage by dropping and thrown into a big wood that caused even the wood to fall back, then it wouldn't take too long to get him down. You don't need to fight to know sometimes. Anonymous then charged out against Yoan. Huh? The sword formation used by Anonymous was the 24 Demon Sword. It was a completely different sword formation from what Een Moha recreated. The power of the formation was more than what Yoan had imagined. Humph. Yoan let out a breath and grabbed on the white dragon blade. The sword formation of the 24 Demon Sword used by Anonymous wasn't something that Yoan could fight against with the butterfly blade dance. I will do my best from the start. Yoan then unleashed the second formation of the Blade God. Anonymous was surprised. Blade skill of the Blade God. He knew what Yoan's blade skill was. The 24 Demon Sword collided with the Blade God's blade formation. With two powerful formations colliding against each other, the mountain was filled with sounds of metal clashing. Yoan didn't look great as he struck his blade against the sword. The energy of Anonymous was much deeper than Yoan thought. The energy kept on giving pain to his organs each time the blade struck against the sword. Detected damaged organs from the outside energy sword being sent in through the blade. Initiating emergency self-healing mode. If Nano didn't help, the fight would have come to an end already. But the formation wasn't all that lacking. The 24 Demon Sword was weaker than the blade skill of Blade God. He has lower energy for sure. Anonymous tried to counter the Blade God's blade skill by using powerful energy, but Yoan endured it through and came in from weird angels that made it hard to counter. It sure is the skill of the Blade God. Then, Anonymous then took steps to get away from the blade skills. And when he got back, Yoan thought he had to strike him down now and unleashed the third formation. Powerful blade attacks continued on smoothly to strike Anonymous. That's when Anonymous got away more quickly and let go of the sword from his hand. Yoan's eyes shook. Huh? And from that distance, Anonymous moved his hand over at the air, and the sword moved itself in the air to unleash the sword formation. Air sword. This was a technique called air sword where the warrior uses his energy to control the sword without touching it. It was only possible for ones that entered the Supreme Master level. And what was more surprising was the sword skill that was used by the technique. Sword Force of the Sky Demon. It was the second formation of the Sword Force of the Sky Demon. It didn't have the correct energy coordination, so its power was weakened, but it was surely the Sword Force of the Sky Demon. But with the sword moving freely with itself, it was still very powerful like its original power. I didn't for him to use the Sword Force of the Sky Demon like this. Even when Yoan's blade moved from weird angles, Anonymous wasn't grabbing his sword by himself, so he was able to counter the blade formation. The white dragon blade was thrown out from Yoan's hand and Anonymous charged in to grab the sword and struck on Yoan's shoulder. Ugh. Yoan was then pushed back 8 steps. Yoan grabbed his bleeding shoulder and glared at Anonymous. He's strong. To think such a powerful warrior was hiding inside the cult. Is he really the Great High Lord? It was hard to explain his identity if he wasn't. Ha, ha. Anonymous began to pant. His face was hidden, but his hands had veins popping up, showing that he had used much of his energy. But warriors with Supreme Master level had ways to regenerate their energy through breathing very quickly. Hoo. White steam came out of his mouth and his breath calmed. Anonymous aimed his sword at Yoan and spoke. You've seen the difference in power already. You are no match against me. Don't follow me anymore. It's not over yet. Yoan did not seem to care about Anonymous' warning. Anonymous shook his head. He won't give up. Yoan must have realized that Anonymous was already at a stage higher in power, but Yoan did not give up. He leaves me no choice. I have to put him down. Unlike before, strong hostile energy was unleashed from his body. This was a warning. It was an act to show that he was going to come for Yoan's life this time. Take this. The sword from Anonymous then flew in as if it were alive toward Yoan. I will make you give up. You will not defend yourself against this formation. Anonymous then used the best sword formation he knew against Chun Yoan. It was the 4th formation of the Sword Force of the Sky Demon. With Anonymous swinging his finger, the sword moved in a way to swing in the 4th formation of the Sword Force of the Sky Demon. Phew. Yoan then let out a deep breath and grabbed the white dragon blade and unleashed blade formation of the Blade God. 2 formations struck against each other. The 4th formation of the Sword Force of the Sky Demon was powerful. It wasn't perfect as it was missing the correct energy flow, but it still was enough to injure Yoan's body. It's the end. With half of the blade formation being countered, Yoan was almost lost. Anonymous was certain that he was going to win. What? That's when the wrist guard over on Yoan's arms formed one black sword. Yoan then grabbed the black sword with his left hand while his right hand was using the blade skill. Anonymous' 2 eyes became shocked. Is that? Hiya! And with a shout, Yoan took a step and his black sword on his left hand unleashed the powerful sword formation. It was the true 4th formation of the Sword Force of the Sky Demon. With the blade skill from the Blade God on the right, and the Sword Force of the Sky Demon in the left hand, black and white swords moved across the air. I can't defend this. The power was overwhelming. Anonymous' sword formation was countered easily and the sword shattered into pieces. Ugh. With the energy being deflected back, Anonymous was thrown to the back. He would have dropped to the ground if there wasn't a tree there. And when Anonymous tried to get up while withstanding the pain coming from his damaged organs, Chun Yoan was already upon him and his 2 swords crossing on Anonymous' neck. Chapter 224. Anonymous. Part 5. Anonymous was shocked to see the white dragon blade and the Sky Demon's sword aimed at his neck. The difference in power was obvious. The end stage of the Superior Master level and entry of the Supreme Master level was only 1 stage difference, but the difference was severe. From looking at the difference in power, it was certain that Yoan had no chance of winning. But the attack Yoan just made was enough to turn the tide upside down. What's more terrifying were that those skills that Yoan used single-handedly, like the legendary sword skills in the entire Yulin. And he just used these 2 with both arms like Mu Jinwen used to do, so the power was enormous. He is a monster. Anonymous thought he had understood the enemy, but he hadn't. Anonymous asked Chun Yoan, "Are you going to kill me?" "Not yet." It meant that he could always kill Anonymous if he wanted to. Anonymous then looked at the black sword and asked, "That sword, is that the Sky Demon's sword?" Yoan's eye shook at the question. He expected Anonymous to be a person related to the cult, but the man even knew the sword. It was likely that the man was a leader from within the cult. Yoan then cut open the mask over the face with his Sky Demon sword. The face was revealed under the mask. Huh? Yoan frowned. Unlike his expectation of finding Great High Lord, or one from elders of the cult, it was someone that Yoan did not recognize. Anonymous looked like a man in his 30s and had foreign features. What was interesting was his eyes, with his right eye that was blue. He even seemed like he wasn't from the land of Jianghu. But Yuan was not interested in his foreign look. "Who are you?" Anonymous became surprised. It seemed Yuan was only interested in what Anonymous was. Interesting. He doesn't care about my different looks. Anonymous became silent for a second and spoke. "Crown Prince. I will not fight or run away, so please let go of me." This voice. Anonymous spoke with an entirely different voice. It seemed he had been faking his voice. But the new voice was one that Yuan knew every well. "Great Guardian?" It was Great Guardian Marakim. Yuan was so shocked at the unexpected identity of Anonymous. It wasn't the Great High Lord. Yuan then hesitated for a bit but took back his white dragon blade and the sky demon sword. By bringing back his ominous demonic energy, the black sword returned to the wrist guard state. He had shown Sky Demon Sword twice to the Great Guardian now. Yuan was confused. He was confused about how Marakim knew the 24 Demon Sword and Sword Force of the Sky Demon, and even knew about the Sky Demon Sword. "Great Guardian, tell me everything you know." Yuan asked seriously and Marakim smiled bitterly. "I have something to tell you first." But before he could finish, a giant explosion rung through the entire mountain. Two of them looked up at the mountain peak. Evil and powerful energy spread from above. Yuan became grim. It was the place where Ain Moha and King Bonki were fighting. Marakim spoke to Yuan. "Crown Prince. We should climb up. I will go with you." Yuan was concerned but couldn't move as he wasn't done with Marakim, so Yuan nodded and quickly began climbing up the mountain. Marakim also ran up, but he couldn't move as quickly due to his internal damage. At the peak, it was now very different. There were many craters and cracks beneath. Ha! Ha! Ain Moha was moving quickly through as she panted heavily. Her clean clothes were ripped and were drenched in blood, and Ain Moha was pale from exhaustion. That's when something dropped to where she was, and if she wasn't fast, she would have become like the hole that was made through. Dust clouds kicked up and something giant got up from within. It was a being larger even than Ko Wanger, who was the largest man within the cult, and his muscles were enlarged irregularly with veins popping up all over it that made his skin to look red. His reddened eyes also showed the demonic presence within. The beast-like man growled. "Grrrrrrrr. You are like a rat. How long do you think you can run?" "Ha! Ha! King Bonki." This beast-like man was King Bonki, the second elder. He was now a giant monster, who jumped against Ain Moha. King Bonki was huge, but he was also very quick, enough to catch up to Ain Moha. But the accuracy wasn't up to par with his speed, so Ain Moha was barely able to run. "Kaya! Kaya!" King Bonki's giant fist struck down on her and threw her away. She used her energy barrier, but it seemed like her left wrist bone was broken. He's adapted to it. King Bonki was getting used to his changed body. Ain Moha was able to dodge a few times, but she was struck down this time. She laid low on her broken left arm and used her sword as a stick to got up and glared. "Krrrrrrrr, ha ha ha. Ha, ha, do you think you can be okay even through using blood reversion?" King Bonki's change had come from the blood reversion art. King Bonki who lost to Ain Moha had to use blood reversion art. Damn it. King Bonki, who refused any connection to blood reversion art, when his sub-clan was revealed of using it, knew this forbidden art after all. And with King Bonki, an established superior master-level warrior using it, the power that grew was out of the limit of a mere human. Ha 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 ha. Do you think this is like that incomplete trash? Incomplete? My great art of the blood god's reversion is not something to be compared to that incomplete trash. Originally, blood reversion art used the user's energy flow to be destroyed and took away the user's conscious that became a problem. But King Bonki, who had to lose his conscious a long time ago, didn't seem to lose his sanity. It's impossible. Foolish woman. I have succeeded in removing all the side effects. Ain Moha became pale. If side effects from blood reversion art was removed, then the Sword Clan was the most dangerous clan in the current demonic cult. No way. That's not possible. Ain Moha shook her head. If what he said was true, then there was no way for the Sword Clan to hide about the blood reversion art. There was still a problem remaining that they couldn't reveal it publicly yet. It's enough. I will kill you now. King Bonki then charged against Ain Moha to finish her. It was so fast that he was already 3 steps away from Ain Moha. Chapter 225. Anonymous. Part 6. Not yet. Ain Moha unleashed blue force chi over her sword. She couldn't run away with stepping skill, so she gathered up her last energy to attack. Yudi. She then thrust her sword into King Banqi's chest. She was ready to give her life away if she failed. But her sword that wielded force chi shattered as if it was an egg that was crushed against a rock. King Banqi's enlarged muscles acted like metal armor and crashed against the sword that was protected through force chi. How can this be? It's ticklish. Is this all you got? King Banqi exclaimed. And as he got up, Moha was shadowed from the death itself. She then slumped down. King Banqi slowly raised his large hand and grinned. Di painfully, ka. And with that, his fist struck down on Moha's head. She closed her eyes at the fear of death. That's when she heard metal clashing and heavy panting right next to her. When she opened her eyes, she saw someone blocking King Banqi's fist with a clear white blade. Moha's eyes grew large. Crown Prince. It was Chun Yoan. He was drenched in sweat, so it was easy to see how hard he tried in quickly trying to climb up the mountain. I'm not late. If he was late, then Moha would have died to King Banqi's fist. She became astounded for being saved. King Banqi, however, became dumbfounded at Chun Yoan who appeared. You're in my way again. Yoan then spoke to him with cold eyes. In your way? How foolish. Arrogant as ever. You think you can deal with me? King Banqi began to unleash evil energy within him. It was very powerful. It's dangerous. Get back. See Crown Prince. Yoan pushed Moha to the back by using his energy. It wasn't an attack, so Moha was let down far to the back safely. King Banqi's hand was covered with terrible force chi and came down upon Yoan. No. But Yoan quickly spun and created blade force chi over his white dragon blade. With force chi striking against itself, the clashing sound filled the area. Yoan had used the formation from Butterfly Blade Dance, but he was thrown to the back with powerful energy. It's powerful. King Banqi's power that grew exponentially was very powerful. It was enough to destroy Yoan's force chi instantly and send him back. Yoan was pushed 10 steps. Sweat ran through his cheek. It felt like he was against a monster rather than a warrior. Is that blood reversion art? King Banqi's enlarged state and veins popping up showed that it was blood reversion art. Yoan had fought a criminal who used it, but that criminal was like a kid compared to King Banqi. King Banqi became arrogant when he saw Yoan becoming tense and created force chi over his two hands. Krrrr, it's good. I will kill you here and now. King Banqi then jumped to charge toward Yoan with incredible speed. The martial arts he was using with his hand was the formation from the true demon sword. No. Ha. You cannot run from me. Yoan tried to dodge it by using stepping skill, but the force chi was so large that he couldn't get away from its range. If he couldn't dodge, then he had to fight through it. It's too powerful. Then, Yoan then changed the way he gripped the blade and unleashed the blade skill of the blade god. A powerful blade skill unleashed itself against King Banqi. His body is like metal. But the white dragon blade couldn't make any cuts on King Banqi's body. I can't do it in my current state. Yoan became pale. He had used a lot of internal energy from the fight against Mara Kim, so he couldn't use the blade skill of Blade God fully, as it required all of his energy. I can't cut him with this, huh? That's when his hand that grabbed on the blade was thrown to the back. That's no use. You cannot harm me like that. Ugh. Arg. Yoan quickly blocked against the giant force chi swinging against him, and he was thrown away. He struck a few times on the ground as he thrown way into the back and soon struck into the ground, making a crater. A dust cloud kicked up and hid his movement. See Crown Prince. Moha screamed desperately. Mara Kim, who just got up to the peak, also became shocked. No. Chun Yoan had used much of his energy through fight against Mara Kim. But he thought Yoan would not lose to almost anyone, so he was shocked to see what he saw on the peak. Second Elder using blood reversion art? Mara Kim had never seen a superior master-level warrior using blood reversion art. But what the Elder turned into was that of a monster. You are nothing against me. Ha. King Banqi laughed and rejoiced. From how his hand felt, he had injured himself significantly this time. If Yoan wasn't immortal, then there was no way for him to survive. Or he so thought. That's when King Banqi heard strange sound within the dust cloud. He stopped laughing and looked at the dust cloud. That's when he felt ominous energy within the dust cloud. As his senses had grown to that of a beast, he could clearly sense the terrifying dark energy that was coming out from it. It wasn't energy that could be used by a dying man. What is this? It was then. Chun Yoan shot out from the dust, and his hand was holding onto a black sword. Yoan shouted, try to block this too. Krrrrg. You were alive. Ka. King Bonki roared and unleashed giant force chi over his both hands and charged against Yoan. Yoan's black sword then wielded black force chi. Black force chi? The black sword then created a trace of a movement divided into 24 movements combined into one. King Bonki then brought up all of his energy and stormed against it. What? But the giant force chi that was swung to rip apart Yoan was instantly countered. And no. I have to defend it. The black streak of light struck King Bonki's chest without giving him a chance to defend. King Bonki focused all energy to defend the sharp energy coming into his chest, but the power of the last formation of sword force of the sky demon that focused all of its power into one point was beyond imagination. And no. Aorg. And Yoan's body shot past through King Bonki screaming in pain and stopped 10 steps past King Bonki. Arg. King Bonki knelt on his knees and looked down on his chest that had a large hole. His body that even force chi wouldn't cut down was penetrated. How can this be? King Bonki then dropped and didn't move. Ha. As Yoan looked at the dead King Bonki, he panted heavily. He had to use the best of his skills to defeat the monster as he had used a lot of energy while fighting against Great Guardian Marakim. Phew. He couldn't even fight anymore. It was then. Great Guardian Marakim got up to Yoan and went down on his 2 knees, and placed his head on the ground and shouted. Great Guardian Marakim of the Great Demonic Cult is here to serve the current Sky Demon. Chapter 226. Anonymous. Part 7. Yoan became shocked at what Great Guardian Marakim just said to him. He couldn't understand why Marakim was addressing him as Chunma. Chunma was the name of the founding father of the demonic cult. Great Guardian. What are you talking about? It is as I said, my lord. I am paying proper respect to the current Chunma. Yoan frowned as Marakim answered seriously. Moha dragged herself over to them and turned to Great Guardian with a confused look. My prince. Is he anonymous? He is the Great Guardian. What? He's Great Guardian Marakim? Moha, who always had no expression, showed her surprise this time. The first surprise came from knowing that Anonymous was actually the Great Guardian, and the second surprise came from seeing Marakim's true face for the first time. Marakim's face did not look like he was from Jianghu. So it was the Great Guardian who gathered 3 elders until now. And Marakim, who was bowing down on the ground, looked up and spoke to Moha. Elder you must pay respect to the current Chunma. What? Current Chunma, you said? Moha frowned. She then glanced over to the black sword that Yoan was holding on. On the blade that shined in black under the bright moonlight, there was an engraving that said, Sky Demon Sword. Wait. You have been to the altar of fathers, so you must know too. Sky Demon Sword. With Marakim's serious words, Moha quickly went down on the ground on her knees and put her heads down. Chun Yoan became more confused when even Moha did the same. Ugh, what are you people doing? You are the true Chunma. What do you mean? It was Moha who answered instead. There is an altar that has monuments of former lords and the last will of founding father at the north side of the lord's palace. Yoan remembered he had heard of this. Once in every year, the demonic cult held a holy ceremony for deceased lords. It was the day when Father Chunma had died in the past. And on the ceremony day, the entire castle went through the ritual of burning, where cultists spent half their day bowing down in remembrance. The members who took care of the ceremony was the lord, guardians, and elders, so they were only ones who were allowed to enter the altar of fathers at that time of the year. Inside the altar, there is a monument that Father Chunma left with his own writing. Moha saw the monument every time there was a ceremony. The writing was said to be written by Chunma himself, so Moha looked very closely every time and remembered it very clearly. On that monument, it is said that one who acquires the true Sky Demon Sword will succeed the name of Chunma. Moha found out that the Sky Demon Sword that the current lord had was not the real Sky Demon Sword after seeing the monument herself. There is also a Sky Demon Order engraved in that monument. Sky Demon Order. It was the order left by Father Chunma. Everything about the demonic cult was determined by the Lord's Order and Elders meeting, but basic laws came from the Sky Demon Order. It was the direct order that no cultist can disobey, even if it was the Lord. But current Lord never succeeded Chunma's title. To the demonic cult, Father Chunma was a god himself. Even if the Lord was above all in the cult, he couldn't disobey the Sky Demon Order. This applied to the 6 clans also. It was because the Sky Demon Order was the fundamental that maintained the demonic cult as one. The sword that Lord carries right now is a replica. Every elder know this. Yoan looked down at his black sword. He was confused as to why the sword had an engraving that said Sky Demon Sword, but now the mystery was solved. Yoan's black sword was the true Sky Demon Sword after all. If the Lord knows his sword is fake or not, then he could have gone against the Sky Demon Order. And it's also strange why elders are not raising objections. The Lord that Yoan knew seemed like the person who was going to try to benefit from it. Even if the Sky Demon Order was true, the Lord wielding a fake Sky Demon Sword was enough to discredit his dignity. It wasn't sure why this was kept on going even when Lord and all elders knew of this fact. As you said, we don't know why the Lord is not trying to hide his sword being fake, but the reason why us elders are not raising problems with this is because of what he heard from generations. And what is that? It was rumored that the true Sky Demon Sword was robbed 500 years ago at the incident of the Blade God. This was shameful history, so the Lord and elders decided to deliberately hide this rumor. It was reasonable, so Yoan nodded. That's when Marakim shook his head. Most of Elder Een said is right, but there is something I need to correct. Question mark. The reason why the Lord does not mention the Sky Demon Sword is because of the Guardian of the Sky Demon Order. Guardian of the Sky Demon Order? Een Moha became confused. She wasn't all that informed about the details of the cult like other elders, but still, she had never heard of such title. Marakim continued. Guardian of the Sky Demon Order always stood by the Sky Demon Order and assisted lords throughout history. The job is to watch over the Lord so that he would not disobey the Sky Demon Order. The person who made the Sky Demon Order was Father Chunma. So to protect the order, Chunma had taught his own martial arts to the guardians of the Sky Demon Order so that they could always be stronger than the Lord. I didn't expect such a powerful warrior was hidden within the cult. Chapter 227. Anonymous. Part 8. Een Moha was surprised to find out the truth. Guardian of the Sky Demon Order always acted covertly under the Lord, so no other cultist knows of this. And the great guardian Marakim knew when no other cultist should have known. Wait, then you mean? Marakim nodded to Yoan's question. Yes. I am the guardian of the Sky Demon. It is the secret title given to all of the great guardians in history. Marakim then reached into his pocket and took out a blue pearl medal. On the front, it had the great guardian's symbol engraved on it. But on the back, there was an engraving that said, Sky Demon Order. Sky Demon Order. The seal and the Order of Chunma itself were engraved on the Great Guardian's medal. What's interesting was that there was a line crossed across the Sky Demon Order engraving. It seemed like it had been made so that the seal could not be reused to fake it. This medal was made by Father Chunma himself. With this, Marakim always had to guard the Sky Demon Order with his life. That's when Yoan became curious. For the Lord, that kind of person to be watching over him might have been considered as a nuisance. Doesn't the Lord think the Great Guardian is a threat to him? No, my Lord. I cannot harm the Lord. Do you think the Lord can trust that? As far as Yoan knew, the current Lord was a very suspicious man. But Yoan's question was immediately solved. Father Chunma placed restrictions on us. It is made through the special poisonous parasite. Father Chunma had placed a special poisonous parasite inside the Great Guardian's family, and it was sent down into generations. The parasite was created by Chunma, and it was used to penetrate into every Great Guardian's internal energy. If in any way, a Great Guardian was to harm the Lord, then the poison will be activated, killing the Great Guardian. The Lord has taken in the reactants, so if I harm him, I will die. The recipe to create the reactants were only known to the Great Guardian family, so they crafted the reactants each time a new Lord was appointed and pledged allegiance. This was a secret only known to the Lord and Great Guardian. So this was why the Lord didn't think Great Guardian as a threat, but also couldn't outright disobey the Sky Demon Order. So, it had been hidden for generations. Yoan spoke bitterly and Marakim continued. Father Chunma had said that a demon is sealed within the cult. And he foretold that one who bears the right will acquire the Sky Demon Sword. It was the legend of the Demon Seal Cave. Hundreds of former princes tried on the cave, and none had found the Sky Demon Sword. And of course, there was none that learned the sword force of the Sky Demon. We Guardians have waited so long to find the one to succeed Father Chunma's will. And hundreds of years had passed. But even after a long period of time, no one succeeded the title of Chunma, and the Guardian families almost gave up on this. But everything is now changed. Changed? What's changed? You are now the true Chunma. We Guardians of the Sky Demon only serve Chunma as our master. With Great Guardian Marakim's serious voice, Een Moha shook with excitement. She knew what Marakim was talking about. What Marakim said was that he accepted. Chun Yuan as his master, not the current Lord Chun Yuzhong. Please bestow me the Chi of Sky Demon to me. Chi of Sky Demon? Don't you have the energy that you acquired from the Sky Demon sword? Do you mean this? When Yuan sent ominous demonic energy into his Sky Demon sword, black light of force Chi shot up from the sword. Ah, I knew it. Seeing this in front of his eyes, Marakim was mesmerized. He was certain that it was the Chi of Sky Demon when he saw Yuan using it to kill King Bonki, and now it was confirmed. Is this the one? Yes. Please bestow me the energy, so I can serve you as my master. What do you mean? The poison parasite is created by using the Chi of the Sky Demon by Father Chunma. Marakim said that the parasite created was temporary as Father Chunma did not have a successor. Father Chunma left a will that said the parasite will recognize wielder of Chi of Sky Demon as its master. Please take me in. Marakim wished for Yuan to take control of the poison parasite's control. Yuan looked down at Marakim and placed his hand over at Marakim's head and sent in the demonic energy into the head. And with the energy coming in through the head, Marakim allowed the energy flow into his body. Ugh. As the energy came into contact with the poison parasite, Marakim felt a pinching pain in his heart and internal energy, but it didn't last long. Soon, the energy was fully absorbed and Marakim's eye glowed with ominous dark energy. Marakim then bowed his head to the ground again and shouted, "Thank you for taking this humble servant. I, great guardian and guardian of the Sky Demon Order, Marakim pledges an oath to the true Chunma." Yuan smiled. The strongest warrior and the great guardian Marakim had now entered Yuan's fold. Yuan now wielded the power of the guardians.